If you're a business owner and you're working your butt off and you're seeing absolutely no results and you're sick and tired of it, this video is for you. This YouTube, this podcast, wherever you're watching, listening to it, keep listening, watching, because this is just for you.
If we're not growing, you're not growing.
Hey guys, I'm Nathan Rigney. I am the Profit Generator and I'm the owner of NGR Accounting, and I'm a certified Profit First professional and the founder of the Profit Generator School. So today I'm going to walk you through 5 simple actions that you can put in place to transform your business from financially stressed, hating your business, not liking it, to being permanently profitable. So you don't need a financial degree, you don't need any of that. Right, I'm going to run you through some really basic stuff that you can do to get on board to have a business that starts serving you. So guys, all you need to do is just watch, listen, and make a decision on taking action. It's as simple as that. Now, to make the job even easier for you, I have a workbook, and all you need to do is reach out to us and we'll send that over to you, no cost, free for you to use. All you need to do is check out my bio. There will be a link in the bio and we'll send that straight out to you via email. So guys, this video is designed to give you simple and quick wins. Just basically enough to just get you focused on making your business profitable and making a business that starts to serve you. So if you're keen and you want to make a change in your business, stay tuned, have a look at it, reach out to us to get the workbook, and let's go. Okay, so 5 simple tasks. The first task in the workbook is getting to know your numbers. And this is so important in business. If you don't know your numbers, I'm telling you, you're going to be like, it's almost like you're walking around operating a business with a blindfold on. The first thing that we need to do is we've got to stop the overwhelm, and you want to start looking at your numbers. And unfortunately, you need to do this dead set, look at it straight into it, and it's about being aware. And you got to get over the overwhelm. And I know there's going to be a lot of pressure looking at it, especially if you know your numbers are bad. But until you know where you're at, it's going to be really hard to make change. So this task is all about awareness, and there's absolutely no judgment as to where you're at. So to get this task done, it's as simple as basically downloading your bank statements, whether that's throwing that into Excel or actually physically printing a bank statement, and then going through the transactions and looking at the last 3 months. So I want you to go through them and put a category on each one of your income and expenses. What I want you to look at in getting familiar with these numbers that are on your bank statements is looking at on the revenue side, so all the credits. Who's paying you? Who are your customers? Knowing what invoices you have. Did they pay you on time? And what did they pay you for? Getting a real idea as to the revenue that is the lifeblood of your business that actually helps you pay your wage, helps you pay your expenses. The next thing I want you to think about when going through your bank statements is having a look at your fixed expenses. So that's looking at your rent, salaries, and all those subscriptions. And then I want you to think about as well, from fixed expenses, start looking at the variable expenses. So variable are more one-off, a bit more ad hoc. And variable is one of those expenses where it's not the same every month like a fixed expense. So variable expenses could be like marketing, supplies, and those random one-offs. And then there's going to be other outgoings or other amounts that leave your bank account, such as loan repayments, taxes, and personal expenses. But ultimately, what I do want you to do when you go through this exercise of getting to know your numbers in your bank statements, and basically this is the start of your finances, is don't overthink it. Look at all those categories I mentioned and then total each category. And in the workbook that you can download, when you download it, you can just put them in each category. Once you've gone through that process, and look, even if you don't have a workbook and you're just going through it, I want you to reflect on what you've discovered and look further into it and just have a little bit of a stop and think. So what I would say to you guys is, when you look through your numbers, what surprised you? What are you paying that's not serving your business? And how is that holding you back from growing and having the business you want? The second task to get to becoming a profitable business is you really got to get to know your profit margin. So now that you know basically where your cash is going, let's talk about the profitability of your business. So I want you to estimate first up, based on what you've seen and even your own gut feeling, what do you think your profit margin is? And then what I want you to do is I want you to then also calculate what the actual profit margin is, the real number of profit that's in your business. So if you go through the workbook, it steps you through what you need to do. But basically, what you're going to do is you're going to use the workbook, you're going to subtract your total expenses from your revenue, and that will give you your net profit. And then I want you to take that amount of money and divide that by your total revenue. So when we look at that net profit over your revenue, you're going to multiply that by 100 and you're going to get a percentage. And so that's going to tell you where you currently sit, how profitable you are in your business. As a guideline, there are a few percentages that will indicate where you're at. And so we call these benchmarks. So benchmarks could be like, as an example, if you've got a business where you've calculated a profit margin of over 20%, you're in a really good place, you're doing quite well. If you are in around about 10 to 20%, it's still good and it's nothing to be ashamed of, but there's probably room to improve. And if you're under 10%, you probably need to have a bit more of a deeper look and have a better understanding of what's going on and what's holding you back from getting to that higher percentage. And if it's negative, yeah, even bigger reflection needs to happen. When you've gone through these numbers, what I want you to ask yourself is just, like I said in the first task, stop and pause and just really reflect. Are you shocked by the numbers or the percentages that you've come up with? How much different is what your gut feeling your profit margin was versus your actual profit margin? And so what did you expect? If this isn't what you expected, the next step is quite crucial. For most businesses, if they don't know their true profit, for most business owners, if they don't know their true profit margin, and if you don't really know that true profit margin, that's where you're getting stuck. And that's why you're not moving forward and becoming profitable. So it's really important to get to know what that profit margin is, to get unstuck, and then get moving into a business. So let's stop and reflect. And as I said before in the first task, it's about pausing and seeing where you're at. So firstly, are you shocked by the number? Are you shocked by what the profit margin is? When you looked at what your gut feeling profit margin was versus the actual, is it what you expected? Is it, how far off is it? The next step is quite crucial. For most business owners, if they don't know their true profit margin, that's what is going to always hold them back from true potential. These businesses, any businesses that don't know their percentage, they tend to stay stuck. So this task that we did is all about recognizing where you are right now versus what you think you're at. So it's a bit of a dose of reality. Okay, our third, task number 3. You've gone through the process of knowing your numbers. Now you know a little bit of reality. If you want to make change, it doesn't matter what it is in life, you've got to set a goal. And so what we're talking about in the sense of you having a profitable business is actually setting a profit goal. So let's move from a state of being unaware of what's going on. So let's go from awareness to then intention, right? You want to take your current profit margin and you want to set a realistic goal. So if you're at 3% profit margin, let's aim for 5%, like in, say, for example, the next 12 months. But what I would caution you is don't try to jump to, say, for example, 20% overnight. Because it'd be like, say, for example, trying to run a marathon without done any training ever in your life. When you want to make any sort of change, it's all about breaking it into bite-sized goals over the 6 to 12 months. And then reverse engineering and working out a plan going, this is where we want to be in 12 months. If you go from 3% profit and you want to go to, say, for example, 6% profit, in the next 3 months, we might go, hey, let's get to 4%. And then at 6 months, let's get to 5%. And then to 12 months, let's get to 6%. But you gradually get there. So it's all about reverse engineering it, working out where you want to be, working backwards, and then achieve that goal going forward. So what does this mean for you in your business? It means that maybe you need to start looking at the revenue. Will you need to change what you invoice? Are you aware of how much you're invoicing? Are you aware of whether you're undercharging or overcharging? Are you not selling enough? you've got to get to know about your sales and know how that is shaped and whether that's holding you back. And on the flip side, it also means that you need to get in touch with your expenses. Do you need to get smarter with your money? Do you need to have a look at where you're spending your money? Do you need to get better value? So ultimately in the workbook, I want you to use the worksheet to calculate what changes are needed in both areas. So upon reflection, once again, stop, pause, reflect. How does this feel to have a goal for you to now actually start tracking and then working towards? The next task in getting profitable, our fourth task, is all about cutting the fat. So let's cut those expenses. So now, if we want to be profitable, we need to make that room for profit. And so this task is actually the most simple, yet putting the action in place can be the hardest point. So it's easy and hard at the same time. Let's look back at your expenses and let's be honest. Go back to that first task. With the expenses that you have, if it's not helping your business grow, not helping your business generate revenue, I want you to question why you still got that expense, why you're still paying it. So let's look at a few examples of what you can do going through your bank statements to cut down your expenses in your business. So the first thing I want you to do when you're looking at your expenses, and by the way, we had 3 months of bank statements, start with that, and then see how you go, and then you might expand that to 6 months to 12 months worth of bank statements to go through this exercise. So the first thing in this task is when you're going through your expenses, I want you to think about expenses that, first of all, yep, we're going to retain it because, we need it. Okay, that's fine. The next type of expense is, should we think about removing it? So these can be quite simple and sometimes maybe a little bit challenging as well. Say, for example, removing subscriptions that you've forgotten about and you just don't use. The next thing I want you to do is looking at the cost. Can we reduce that cost? And that could be as simple as going, let's get a better deal on, say, for example, a phone plan, especially when you own the phone outright. And then the next thing I'd get you to look at is renegotiating your expenses. So as an example, it might be that, hey, I've got an office lease with unused space. Can I sublet it? Can I renegotiate the deal of my lease? Can I reduce it or maybe do something to renegotiate? So overall, the lease might still be the same amount, but because you can sublet out part of the space, it overall reduces the rent that you need to pay in the business. So in the workbook, once again, use the table, go through the workbook and list the changes, and ultimately the thing that you need to do to get absolute understanding of what you've achieved is look at the monthly savings and then multiply them by 12 to get a full understanding of how much you've saved in this exercise. And when you do your reflection piece and you start thinking about and stop, pause, go through the exercise, you've got to ask yourself, how much money did you find? How much money was being wasted? How much have we saved? And then think about what could you do with that cash? That's not to say you go and spend more money on other expenses you don't need, but that can better serve other parts of the business or maybe even pay down debts for you as well in your business. The reality is the average business can cut around about 20% of costs immediately just by going through this exercise. And like I said before, what could this extra cash do for your profit, or might even just bring peace of mind and just reduce a whole lot of stress on your shoulders? So the fifth task, the final task, is all about building your profit system. And this is about building a framework, so there's a system that you can use to help build your business profitably. So finally, let's lock in those changes. We don't want this to be, basically, when you go through this, you don't want this to be a one-time thing. We want this to be your new normal. So here's what I want you to do next, all right? I want you to open up 4 core bank accounts. So you've already got your current bank account, which you're using to collect all your revenue. And then what we're gonna do is set up 4 other new accounts, and I'm gonna explain what we're gonna do with those. But essentially what's going to happen is you're going to continue receiving all your turnover from the invoices you give, and then on a weekly or fortnightly basis, you're going to start splitting the cash that you received into 4 different core bank accounts and using these based on a set percentages to allocate the money, to serve the money where it is needed. So the first thing that I'm going to suggest is you open up a profit bank account, and it's as simple as allocating an extra 1% to that bank account. The next one you want to do is setting up a bank account which is just for your pay, as the owner, and we're going to put 50% to that account. And then the next account is all about tax, because unfortunately taxes, it's just, you can't avoid it. And we don't want to be in trouble with the ATO. So we're going to open up a bank account where we just put 15% of our revenue to a tax account. And then lastly, having a operating expenses account. And I said 34% for this one. Essentially, this is what you have left over to spend on operating your business. And so what happens is with only that 34%, if that's all you've got, it then forces you, if you haven't got enough money in that account, to start thinking about, what do I need to cut? What do I need to change? Do I need to do things differently? It's what I would call forced frugality, where you start thinking about how you can get more and spend less. But then also, then it forces you to go, maybe I'm not charging out enough as well. So it's forcing you to now to find out why your business can't operate on 30 to 40% of expenses of your revenue. And ultimately, if your business is running on more than that, you don't really have a business that's operating profitably. And remember, this is the ultimate goal. It's about having a business that is profitable. So what you're going to do is, now you know those percentages, you're going to start transferring how it works for you, whether it's weekly or fortnightly, but pick a day, one day where you stick to that, and that is the day every week or every fortnight where you transfer the cash based on these allocated percentages for its intended use. And as a simple, just for example, 1% into a profit account, you then start building it from there. So what I would suggest is, don't go changing the profit account to a massive high percentage, especially if you're just starting out. Don't go in too fast. Start small and build the habit. And this is what it's all about. It's about you guys building a habit and getting into a system where now you start thinking about everything you do. Is it profitable? Is it serving the business? Is it helping me achieve what it is, which is being profitable, or going back to that original goal that we talked about earlier? So essentially, you got to think about, if you bring in $1,000 for the week, 1% is $10. And ultimately, if that breaks your business, you've probably got bigger issues. Reflection. Let's think about this. Let's stop, pause. How different would your business feel with consistent profit habits? Or how would you feel if you had no overwhelm or thinking or worrying about how I'm going to pay the next bill? So having a system in place like this stops those problems. But then also, how would you feel by putting this in place and then knowing that all these great habits is actually going to start building you a business that serves you, has goodwill in it, and is actually something that's actually worth your time and effort that you've put in? Let's recap and let's look at the 5 steps that we went over. So 5 tasks to become permanently profitable. The first one was getting to know your numbers. This is so important. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know where you're going, you might as well have a blindfold on, and you're just always going to struggle if you just don't know your numbers. The second thing we did was we calculated your real profit margin. You need to know where you're at today if you want to set a path towards setting a new goal. The third thing we talked about was setting a goal. Setting a business goal, setting a profit goal in your business. So maybe looking at a new profit percentage that you can work at. The fourth thing we looked at was cutting the unnecessary expenses that are in your business. And the thing we looked at was building a profit system in your business, building a framework, building a system that helps create good habits and also helps you in building those habits so you don't go back to the bad habits which weren't serving you and were causing you a whole lot of stress. So guys, that is it for this week's podcast. If you want the workbook, remember, it's as simple as getting in touch with us. And if you get the workbook, it's going to help you walk through each one of these steps. So just email us via the link in the bio and we'll send it right over. So if you like what I'm saying here, guys, and want to know more about how you can build a sustainable business, one that is profitable, a business that serves you, well, what I would suggest is continue watching our videos and subscribe. But beyond that, get on our waiting list for our next Profit Generator program. And when you get on that program, that is what's going to help you start the process and the journey to have a business that starts serving you. So guys, thanks for watching, listening, however you got this podcast. I'm Nathan, the Profit Generator, and this is just the beginning of your profit journey. Good luck and reach out to let us know how you went.